So, are you curious?
Welcome to the Curiosity Codex. I am your ardent enthusiast, Kyle Olson. Our conversation with director Mandy Fabian continues. In this chapter, we'll hear tales of Tinseltown, the strange worlds of agents and managers, and her time spent with some comedy legends. One production note, the audio on this chat is not up to our usual standards. Mandy and I record our audio individually, but I also record us together as a backup track, which came in handy this time as Mandy's computer crashed right at the end of our time, and her audio is totally corrupted. On the master track, Mandy's audio is a little quieter and the lag is a bit more apparent, but I've done a lot of cleanup and you should be able to understand everything. I just wanted to let you know before we got rolling. But now, let's get into our chat as Mandy tells us about the madness of pilot season.
Chapter 3, Freedom from the Need.
Okay. All right, so let's see. When we left off, we were just about to get to Hollyweird. So what is it that first brought you out to go to California, to Los Angeles, to the thing? And then as a struggling actor, how did you afford to go?
Right. The first time I came out was early on. Like I was living in New York and I was going to go out for pilot season and I was in my 20s.
Sure. So how did you find out about pilot season? Was that your managers?
Yes. I had a manager at the time who was like Sarah Silverman's manager and Dennis Leary's manager. And when I came to LA with this management company, I mean, I came on my own. I had to find my own, place. And I got a job making balloon animals at kids' parties.
Okay. Now, this is moving out to LA or just staying there for pilot season?
I knew I was going to be there for 3 or 4 months. So this is a pretty typical thing, actually, for actors. At least it was. I don't know if they still do this, but because pilot season is not quite so. It used to be like, oh, my God, January 3rd, you hit the ground running and everybody starts casting and putting together their pilots, which are, what pilots are. But in case anybody doesn't know, it's a show that they're going to try out. They've picked up a script. They're like, maybe we'll make a series of this. And then they shoot all of these television shows, just the first episode to see if it's going to go. And so they need a ton of actors because not all the shows are going to get picked up.
Right.
But everybody wants to get a pilot because it's a great way to, once a show is on, there's fewer job opportunities there. The pilots are when you get to the opportunity to be a series regular, right? Mm-hmm. You get to be the one that makes the show for 5 years and 100 episodes or 500 episodes or however lucky you
get. That sweet, sweet residual.
Oh my God, it's the best job in the world. And also, think of like our lives are constant rejection.
Yes.
So to have a job for 5 years.
Yeah, and I think in all of Hollywood, that's the closest thing you ever come to a 9 to 5 because when you're on a regular television show, you have a set schedule. Like you're coming in on these things and you pretty much have the weekends off.
Yes.
It's like you shoot, Friday night most of the times. Friday night is shoot night and then you got a couple days off and then back in on Monday to start learning the next script.
Oh my God. And especially for multicam, for sitcom.
Yeah.
That really is like a 9 to 5. You can actually have a family and a life on a multicam because you have a table read at 10 a.m. on Monday morning. And then everybody goes home. Because after the table read, the writers have to go, snip and fix jokes and, write more for a character that got laughs and all the things. So it's just like Monday, the whole workday on Monday is basically show up, be at a table read at 10 a.m., read it for an hour and be done. and actually after that, a director will have a bit of a plan for the week. They'll have like what in single cam would be like a tone meeting, where you go over the script and you sort of point out things that are not usual, right? Like you go through the script, and so if it says like, "Oh, we're in Larry's kitchen," everybody pretty much knows Larry's kitchen, so there's nothing special about that.
Yeah,
but if it's Larry's kitchen at night, and that's when the ghost of Christmas past appears in the fireplace, then everybody sits around on Monday and figures out how are we doing Ghost of Christmas Past, and all the department heads will say, well, I got some old socks. I've sewn them together. It's going to be great. This VFX, the special effects guy will be like, we have a thing that's going to explode like this, but not that it's big explosions in multicam, but you know what I mean? They have they sort of have to plan how they're going to fake somebody coming down a chimney sort of thing. Right. And then everybody goes home. But then it's like you rehearse. The next day you just rehearse, and then you show the people, you show the writers, the rehearsal, what you've done so far. And then they go away and they rewrite because they either love or hate what you've done. And then you do more, you do a producer's run through for the producers, and then you do a network run through. So it's like you have to you do the writers, you do the producers, you do the network, and every time they might rewrite or change something or give notes. Yeah. So it's like doing a play that a half-hour play that's constantly getting rewritten all week, and then then you go and do the live show, and even then it gets rewritten. And then it gets written.
That was the thing that amazed me when I got to see a taping of a sitcom. I went to a recording of Two Broke Girls when that was on in their first season, and they would go and they would shoot the scene, and they would they would do the thing, and then as soon as they would call cut, the writers would cluster together. And then one would run over to the actors and go, and they'd run the scene again with all new jokes. Yep. That was amazing to me. That like right then there's a circle, and who can top it? Who can top it? Like basically they're all going around like who's got something better? Who thought of something better? Like right in that moment, and they have to be there and they have to be on. Yeah. And then suddenly go back and then they see what our reaction is as the audience. Like what is it that they're like that got a bigger laugh, and then to watch the final thing and see which joke ended up in the show. Oh, and it's the best. Like I think it's the purest form of comedy, because truly, if you don't have an audience laughing, then what you did is not funny. Yeah, and not funny enough. Like right. And that's why I think Chuck Lorre's stuff is so successful, because he really writes to the audience laughing. I mean, it doesn't matter if every single person who was watching it, during rehearsal all week, were like, oh my God, that's amazing, right? Yeah. It doesn't matter, because if the audience doesn't, if he thinks you can get a better joke for the audience, then he rewrites it. Yeah. Yeah. He works them really hard. And I really admire that. Yeah. It's definitely a skill that not everybody has. No, not even all writers. And it's even when they do sitcoms, they're so used to having the laughter idea that keeps the momentum of that going. Yeah. That when they shoot sitcoms that they are not going to, or scenes, I should say, I don't know if it's not the whole sitcom. When they shoot scenes that they are not going to shoot in front of a live audience, they sometimes will have laughers come in. Oh, interesting. They have people who it's just their job to laugh at the jokes. And they'll do it for, like I said, if they're shooting a scene that's not going to be live. Yeah. And they will do it also sometimes for rehearsals. The last sitcom set that I was on, they had like 4 or 5 people who were standing in the bleachers, laughing at every joke. And of course, the crew laughs, everybody laughs. It helps it helps the morale. But I was like, wow, I thought they were background actors or something. I was like, wow, they are really enjoying this. And my husband was like, no, they're hired to laugh. What a weird gig. It would be my dream job, because I laugh at everything anyway. Yeah. My wife says that too. I can watch a comedy, for the 5th time, whatever, still laughing out loud. Yeah. Yeah. It's something about it. Okay, so your first pilot season then. So what was that like? Like, so did they bring you out for something specific, or is it just a lot of showing you around? Like you're a show pony. They're basically bringing you from place to place, introducing you to people. Yeah, they did not bring me around. I think it probably depends. I think if you get something early on, then you're sort of more escort. Like I've heard of people, their managers escort them to meetings and stuff. Okay. That was never not all of them. Some managers do that, some don't. Basically, you show up, you get yourself a place to stay, you figure out how you're going to eat and pay to live. Right. For 4 months in Los Angeles. And then, hopefully
you really should have an agent or a manager, right? Like, hopefully that has happened for you, because otherwise there's no, like, when you're in New York, you can go to an open call for something. There's that backstage, there's always auditions and stuff in backstage. And I guess there are here for theater, but theater here doesn't quite translate. I in my experience, it has not, from what I've seen, because I didn't do a lot of theater here. I did it mostly in New York. But it's not like, I'm going to do a play for 6 weeks and maybe someone who casts a TV show will see me. Whereas in New York, it happened all the time.
Are you telling me that La La Land isn't true? That's not how it works?
Well, I will say Mindy Kaling did a one-woman show called Matt and Ben.
That's right.
Where she did impressions of Matt and Ben. And that, that was a big success. Although did she do that in New York first? I don't know. I don't remember. That's what I mean. Like Upright Citizens Brigade came from New York.
Groundlings,
the Groundlings is Los Angeles.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That's legit LA. So people will go to the Groundlings to mine comedy talent. That's true. But the Groundlings is a school. So the Groundlings is you go and you do the 100 level, 200 level improv, sketch writing, blah, blah, blah. And then
they're like Second City.
Yes.
You work your way up through the companies. Yeah.
It's 5 years before you're ever even going to see the stage.
Yeah.
For the Groundlings. Worth it for some.
Right.
But did you ever see that show, The Nobodies? Or Nobodies? Oh my God. I love this show so much. Oh,
who was in that?
It's a show busy show. And what's funny is I can't tell you who's in it because I can't remember their names now because the whole premise,
is that they're nobodies.
I know Melissa McCarthy's in it because their whole premise is there are this writing team. They're really funny. They're really talented. They're so likable. I loved spending every week with them. But the whole premise is that Melissa McCarthy is their super famous close friend from doing the Groundlings, and they lie and say that she's attached to a script when she isn't because they're so desperate for an opportunity, and the only thing everybody wants is somebody famous. So it's this really great, it's all about them struggling, being super talented, super right place, right time. All of their friends are famous, and there's these 3 people who are friends with Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig and all the famous people, Nat Faxon. And Jim Rash. Is it Jim Rash?
From Community?
Yeah.
Oscar winner, Jim Rash?
Yeah, Nat Faxon and Jim Rash are writing partners, and they were in the Groundlings together with all these people. So these are basically the 3 people out of that group of superstars who didn't make it. And I thought it was brilliant because there's so many stories like that.
I will put that on my list because half of the people that you mentioned are some of my favorites. So
it was on TV Land and I loved it.
Okay.
I loved it. Yeah.
Did you actually get a role? If there's this hunger for actors, did you actually get a role to do something while you were out there, or is it just a lot of meetings?
No, for me it was a lot of. I think I auditioned. I don't remember. I must have been auditioning some of the time. I did stand-up shows.
Okay.
So I got general meetings because I was part of a sketch show that we did with Anthony Clark. They kind of set up a showcase thing. All right. And I think I got some.
So how did that work then? You they get together over the course of a week and then come up with something and then you put it up on the Friday?
Luckily, I was paired with people who really could write. I mean, I was not I could write some things. We used some of my sketches that I'd done in college. But I was such a collaborator, too. You can't use other people's material. And everything I wrote, I sort of wrote with 3 or 4 other people, So I didn't really have a lot of my own material at that point. So I just tried to cobble stuff together from what I had come up with. And then I was paired with a playwright who was really funny. And she was the one who told me, she's like, if you want to be a writer, you need to read plays. Which I thought was interesting. Now, it's funny, I could have met the person who's like, if you want to be a writer, you need to read spec scripts.
That's true.
Right?
Right.
And it's interesting because there's that moment in time where it totally informed my sensibility.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with plays and theater.
Yeah.
And so consequently, the things that I write have a more what's being said under, what's the subtext, Harold Pinter and it's more, I don't know, I think in terms of theater more than, at least I did for a while. And then I made the switch. But yeah, so you get together, you write what you think is a funny 15 minutes and everybody does their parts. You rehearse it and then you do it in front of a live audience and hopefully people laugh and they want to know more about you.
Wow.
And that's what happened. So I went, I had meetings. I think I met with the lady. They might have even been casting Friends at the time and I was too young, but they were, I was too young, but I met with the woman who did it. She was lovely. I just did a lot of general meetings and I'm sure I did a couple auditions. And again, I wasn't really sure how to audition.
Sure.
So, but it's a crapshoot.
So did you sense a difference? I think I talked about this the last time, but being out there in LA for the first time auditioning, did you sense the difference between a New York audition, which you'd had a lot of?
That's interesting.
Is there more of like a casual style?
Or
is it pilot season? Is it just like, give me another face? Like they're just working you through because they have so many people they need to get through. Yes,
they have so many people, right? Yeah. But they're lovely. But it's an interesting thing. It's a little bit more like when you're in New York, they didn't cast as many things out of New York. Yeah. So you were sort of special New York talent. And New York was constantly trying to figure out how to get their talent. Because if they're shooting something in LA, it's cheaper for them to just find somebody in LA.
Sure.
That's why people go out to LA for pilot season, right? Because if you can find somebody local, why would you...
Right. Why pay to fly them back and forth across the country?
Right. But on the other hand, why do they also hire tons of British, Australian, and Canadian people? Because there's something sexy about, oh my God, we had to find, we just couldn't find an American who could do it.
We couldn't find a blonde-haired, blue-eyed American. I don't know. We looked all around and turns out they have a bunch of them in Australia. So we just imported. Yeah.
I know. Right.
Strange.
So there was I think that the New York casting directors, though, because they knew they were working with theater kids mostly, they worked with you a little bit more because there were fewer auditions. They probably brought in fewer people. It was a little bit more of they worked with you a little bit more. Whereas in LA, they were lovely, but they have lines out the door and it's a little bit more, it's just everybody's life. Like that's the funny thing when I got to LA is it's like going to another country.
Wow.
This is all just another day. This is just another Wednesday for them.
Yeah.
Trying to find the person who's going to cast trying to find the right actor for this part. So it's not like they're so casual about it. And
it's your life. It's your career. It's everything. And they're just like,
you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
And so it's a weird thing. It was just interesting because my experience in New York was like, if you don't know what you're doing, they might workshop you a little bit. Whereas in LA, if you don't know what you're doing, they don't know that you don't know what you're doing. They sort of assume if you're there, you do.
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit more of like not this time, or great, thanks, moving on. It's busy and but they're not mean at all. They're lovely. They just assume that you already speak the language.
Okay.
And it is a very specific language. And being on the other side of it now, it's fascinating to me. Even when people tell you as an actor, they don't want you to fail. They want you to be the best thing they've ever seen.
Right.
But as an actor, you still go like, but what is that? How do I accomplish that?
Yeah.
But it really is just that thing of just relaxing and like really truly being yourself. Like that's the only thing that is going to get you the job, because you can know sometimes when people walk in that they're not right for it. They might be the most talented person in the world, but they're not. You just know instantly that they're not right for the part.
So you don't feel like you can ask anything, right? Like because if the expectation is you're supposed to know the secret codes, then you don't want to say I don't know what the secret codes are. So you're already acting a little bit there because you have to be like, oh no, I've done this 100 times. I've been on the Paramount lot. I don't know how many times.
And the truth is, I don't know because I'm older and wiser now. So probably, no, I don't even think I am. Like I'd probably still try to pretend. Still try to pretend that I knew what was going on because there's a weird sort of, you want them to think you're a professional.
Right. And you don't want to show up with stars in your eyes because they'll be like, you don't want one of those to walk around like, oh, movie stars.
Yeah. But by the way, if that's authentic, there's really nothing wrong with that. Like,
True.
I mean, it's interesting. Like, I think sometimes I've talked myself out of a job by being so, I want to make it so clear that I haven't auditioned that much, that I'm a little green or a little rusty or whatever, that I've literally been like, I mean, I'm mostly a writer. I don't even know what I'm doing here. Like I've certainly, now I've miraculously gotten jobs in those offices too, but I've certainly spent a lot of time explaining why I don't know anything and I shouldn't even be here.
Okay, so you walk out of then your first pilot season with a lot of knowledge.
Oh my God.
But no work.
No, I don't think. No, I didn't book anything that first pilot season. I'm trying to think if except the job making balloons for kids at birthday parties. That was great. I mean,
did you have that skill going in, or did they teach it to you?
No, I didn't know how to make balloon animals.
Okay.
I had to learn.
You never know what you pick up.
I didn't even have children. I mean, I barely spent any time with children, so it was like I had to learn how to entertain 20 kids at a time, which actually was pretty easy for me. I loved it. I really loved it. I learned balloon animals, and I had to. So that's what I got out of the first pilot season.
Okay. Well, hey, you come with a skill.
A couple great magic tricks,
Now, if I handed you a balloon now, do you still have it? Like, could you still produce a? I'm not asking you to run and get a balloon now, but like, if I put a balloon in your hand, could you still come up with a decent dog or Little Mermaid?
I think I can make you a pretty nice little wiener dog. I think I could.
Nice. So some skills don't ever go away.
No.
So did that become the habit that you went back to New York, back to regular life, back to, waitressing and auditioning and stuff too, and then every year back and forth?
I went back to New York with the full intention of moving back to LA. I mean, I loved it. And I was like, yeah, this is where it's at. I had good friends there.
Weather, vibe? Like, what was it that really appealed to you?
It's interesting. It was weather. It was vibe. It was the fact that, when you go to audition, you're walking on the Paramount lot. You're walking into these places. And
As opposed to a random office in some random building.
Yeah, that was so exciting to me, being that close. And also, LA feel. You don't have to speak good English there. No, LA felt like summer camp. I've always, anytime anybody moves to LA and they have like wide saucers and they're like, I don't know about this town. I'm like, no. It's summer camp. It's always beautiful and sunny. And everybody wants to play. And everybody came here to play. So, if you can't throw a stick without hitting a DP and some actors and writers. So like anything you need, you are now surrounded by your people to make that happen. And I sensed that and I really liked it. And then I went back to New York and I know what happened and it's awful, but my manager ended up taking money that wasn't his.
Oh.
Yeah, I had done a movie in Texas, just a little movie, and I was a background girl, and then they gave me a line, right? So I had a tiny part. But
do you remember the name of the movie?
Yes, it was. It had Vanessa Redgrave and Keith Carradine.
Oh,
Ballad of the Sad Cafe.
Okay.
And Simon Cowell was the director. And I guess something had happened, and maybe they didn't pay people what they should have paid them. And there was a settlement via SAG, and I got a check. I mean, it's so interesting. At the time, I think it was like $2,500. But
that's 2 months' rent.
It was, and he commissioned it when he really wasn't supposed to, and we kind of got into it. And I don't even know how this happened. I'm the most non-confrontational person in the world, but all of a sudden, like I looked at my things and I was like, oh, he's charging me for like file folders and staplers. Like he's actually he's charging me for his office. Like he's taking money because I booked that big commercial and he was my manager at the time. He was double charging me for things. And now he was such a big manager. There are two paths, right? There's who cares? It's just a couple $100, sure. Keep on this path. You're fine. Or there's but it's not right to steal from somebody, and that makes him unethical, and I can no longer be in a relationship with him. Right. I took that path, which maybe it wasn't the smartest path. Maybe, I don't know. It was, but it's what So
the thing is, as I've gotten to, the middle years, let's say, that's my thing too. Is like, I don't want to be around those people. So like, once you know something like that, something that they've done terrible, and they're continuing to do, it's like, even if it hurts me, like, it's going to hurt me a lot more because I have to live with myself the entire time, knowing that I willingly went along with something that was bad, or continue on. So it's like I've got to the point, like, my peace of mind is worth more. Yeah,
it was. It was that. It was. I mean, if you can't trust somebody,
right?
And everybody. I mean, it's kind of classic. Anybody.
Yeah, exactly. It's Hollywood.
It's Hollywood, but unless you're working, and once again, let me state this for anyone who's interested in this business.
Yes.
I still believe that even for the most successful people, like 80% of what we do is rejection.
Yeah.
Like, so you're really not getting the job most of the time.
Right. How quickly can you replace a manager?
Right.
Like,
that's it. So, sorry, that's what I was going to say.
Okay.
80% of the time you're not getting a job.
Yeah.
So it's your agent. Everyone is always frustrated with their agents and managers because they're not booking them the good gigs, right? Not getting them the right auditions. Go get me a job. And it's like, well, most people don't get jobs most of the time. So that's the business that we're dealing in. You know what I mean? So he was really kind of a jerk about it. I mean, we had to go to arbitration. There was a lawyer. And honestly, it was so traumatic. And I was so young,
Yeah.
And I felt like, oh, God, how did I really, like, my first go out, this is how it goes,
Yeah.
And I felt really icky. So then I didn't have a manager. And I still had my agents, but I didn't know how to talk to agents, so it was a little bit of a, I think it threw me for a few years. So it kind of threw me.
So I mean, like, we don't have to get into the big difference about manager agent stuff too, but like the agents then are sort of out there, like you're not in communication with them on a regular basis, like you're just part of the team, but you don't, like, you're not emailing all the time, you're not calling, like you don't deal with them unless there's money.
Different people have totally different experiences.
Okay. I've never dealt with it either, so I'm curious what your experience.
Yeah. Some people are super tight with their agents. They go to lunch, they party with their agents, they can tell their agents anything, their agents fight for them. It's like their agents are like a manager.
Okay.
But the traditional sort of structure is a manager will have 8 to 12 clients that they focus on. So your manager wakes up and they really are more like, how am I going to get Mandy a job today? Who can I set her up with? Well, how can I leverage my resources to find her a job? Right. And they're constantly focusing on you. Whereas an agent probably has, I don't know, depending on how big their agency is, they can have 50 clients like you,
Yeah.
So that's obviously not going to, and even back then, so managers couldn't negotiate the deal, the agents had to. So there was sometimes like a manager would make something happen and then the agent would come in and negotiate it.
Yeah.
But then they also have entertainment lawyers who negotiate things. It's really, I feel like it's all kind of set up on this idea that, like, if someone's going to get rich and famous, you don't want to miss that boat.
Oh, yeah.
To make money, think about it. How are you supposed to monetize anything if you're a manager or agent? You have to be attached to someone who's famous,
making money. Yeah,
making money.
It unfortunately is a parasitic industry. Like you as the performer make X amount of that, and then they take a percentage of that.
Yes, or you have to have a lot of, maybe not famous, but like almost famous, like just regular Joe working class actors, a bunch of them, so you can keep your business afloat. Right,
because when they make money, you make money.
Yeah, I mean, they're always lovely people. The best part about agents is that their whole skill set, or I shouldn't say their whole, a main part of their skill set is making you feel like you're amazing. And God, that is a great skill set, man. I mean, even if if you haven't made money in 10 years and you're not doing great, but you somehow have an agent, you sit to lunch with them and they're like, oh, do we love you? And you're like, I know, right?
You do? Oh, I didn't expect that, but it's nice to hear.
It really is. It costs them nothing to shower you with love. It's pretty great.
And they usually pick a check.
Yeah, they do.
Also a bonus.
Yeah, right? I mean, even if you have no jobs, you could at least get a couple free lunches, which, is better than nothing.
Right.
No. Yeah. So, but that was a little tricky when that happened. It took me a couple years to kind of figure out, how do I get back into this? It was really I was scared to get back into it a little bit. I was still auditioning.
So you just didn't have a manager for that period of time?
I didn't have a manager. And then I think I got a manager. This is funny. I got a manager and then she quit the business.
Okay.
But I had gotten a new agent and then she quit the business. And
you start to go, is it me? Am I pushing you out of the business? What, did I do something wrong?
It's so funny because, but then at this time I was still I was doing sketch comedy.
Okay.
I had gotten back into my safe home base of, I didn't feel like going out to LA without a manager or agent. Right. So then once I signed with Gersh and I was like, okay, so now maybe I'll plan to move out to LA. And then the lady at Gersh quit. And then they put me with somebody else, but it was a little bit like,
I don't know you, you don't know me.
Yeah, I was, and by the way, that's the other thing. If you don't know what you're doing, it can sometimes, it can be, it's not clear. It's not a clear path. But now, in retrospect, what I understand is you just go. Yeah. You drive your career. You drive it. And if you need help, or want somebody to, you just go ahead and ask for it, whether it's your friend or someone you're networking with, or whether it's your agent. I'm like, they're not always going to be thinking of you. It's a shocker, I know. But if you need something specific, you reach out and you go, what about this? So if I had known how the business worked, I would have at the time been like, I'm thinking of going to LA. Would the Gersh office in LA send me out for pilot season? I didn't really have that going on yet. It took me years to really understand the mechanics of it. And I don't know why, except that I'm more of a creative. I'd be like, well, I can't figure it out right now because I'm doing characters and sketch shows. And I shouldn't say more of a creative because you can be both. I think it was just my personality.
Well, yeah, because you came up through working with a group of people.
Yes.
Your stuff was never intended to be like name above title. It's just me. It's the me show.
100%. I had always been shepherded into these great, sketch groups, and I got to work with amazing people.
Yeah.
And the rest of it was just kind of up to luck. But what ended up happening was I did not go back out to LA. I stayed in New York and I continued to do theater and sketch. And then I got a terrific voiceover agent.
Oh, okay.
And that happened completely out of the blue. I did not expect that. I hadn't even heard of voiceover. I had no idea what that was.
Yeah.
But they came and saw me in a show and they saw that I could sing and that I had comic timing.
Okay.
And those were the things that they kind of looked for, right? Oh, she's funny and she has a sense of rhythm and sound and her voice is nice. And so they basically said, hey, we want to represent you. And I was like, oh, I already have an agent. And they're like, yeah, you're going to dump that other agent because we're the best in town and we're going to actually make you money. And I was like, okay.
Oh, okay.
And I was terrifying, but I did it. I did it because someone told me to do it, which is great.
Yeah.
I just need to be told what to do.
So voiceover obviously can cover a lot of things. So what did they initially start you doing? Was it just car commercials? What was the...
It was fantastic. I don't know how, because I had been on voiceover auditions before.
Sure.
I'd had another voiceover agent. I every so often would sort of, and I did the on-camera auditions. I was auditioning for things, but I was sort of I kind of feel like I was a bit of a clown, I was goofy, and I didn't really know what I was doing. although I booked a couple things. I booked a Kmart commercial. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Kmart. But then when I got to voiceover, it was like, oh, that's my jam.
Oh, okay.
And the reason it was is because it took away all of my self-consciousness. So any of the lack of confidence that I had, like, it's so weird. Like we had talked about this before.
Yeah.
If you're in a theater of 900 people in the dark, you're a goddamn virtuoso. Like you can perform and you're masterful. But you put me in a room with 3 people who can see my face and I can see theirs. I'm shaking like a leaf. Like there's a weird kind of like, this is too much about me and you, or you know what I mean?
Am I talking too much? Am I talking too little? Like, yeah.
My nerves were getting so bad in the auditions and the on-camera auditions that I couldn't do really what I was good at.
You couldn't get to the place.
I couldn't. I just was, at least I'm assuming, in the past, it's one of those things, you always look at something in the past. Right. And
this is the problem. There is no exit interview for an audition.
I know.
I think that is a bad thing to say, like afterwards, like, I mean, obviously they're doing it with mass numbers, but like a little thing saying like, hey, you're great on this. Maybe you should work on this, to like, okay, great. That'll help me audition in the future. But you end up just walking around for the rest of your life. Like, what did I do? Like, why didn't I book that? Like, how could I not? And you have no idea.
By the way, a lot of it, and I have this story a lot. Like I've come close on a lot of things. Like,
sure.
And the things that I know that I've come close on, that was great to hear.
Yeah.
It was nice to know that I didn't get the job, but at least I wasn't completely in the dark, fumbling my way through it. But I think you're right. I think the great equalizer in entertainment would be if we could somehow sit people down, when they want to get into this business. Like if there should be some seminar that goes, all right, here's the thing. You don't need to be ashamed of anything. We're all bad when we start.
Right.
Don't take it personally.
Yes.
Don't think that you need to be something special. Don't think that you need to know things that you don't.
Yeah.
Just throw shame out the window and just bring your ever-loving best of what you have now. And I'm going to critique you. Everyone is going to critique you. And when you take this critique, you need to take it in the same way that you take, I don't like asparagus with my breakfast. Like you take it in the same way that you take any feedback, like, oh, that's new information. Yeah. I exhale before every time I'm supposed to have a dramatic moment. Okay, so how can I address that specifically? How can I be more free? How can I incorporate improv without jumping all over the writer's lines? How can I be alive in the room and have a normal conversation? Because some people, by the way, are just casting you based on how you talk to them before the audition.
Yes.
Because everybody can deliver those jokes, but when they see something sparkle in a person beforehand, that can get you a job. Like, I want to spend time with this person. So it's an interesting...
Yeah, I've heard that same idea kind of from the writing side of it. Robert Rodriguez, in his book, talked about when you start out, the first 5 screenplays you write are going to be terrible. There's nothing you can do about it. So he said his philosophy was, let me get them out of the way now. So he just basically started writing, and you have to commit, you have to believe, you have to know and get through it. And even knowing that, this is going to be bad, but I have to do it because I have to learn. And so he did that and worked his way through. So by the time he gets discovered and it's his first major thing, no. He put in the work already by the time he got to that point. So it's that same thing of knowing it's going to be bad and you just have to accept that. Everything, whatever you start out, everyone starts out terrible.
Yes.
Everyone. Yes. And you have to be able to work through of you hating what you're doing, whether it's acting or writing or dance, whatever it is, to get to the point where you actually can start to be good and develop your stuff. But you have to suck first. Yeah.
That's why I think training or something I think it's a dangerous model that we have because look at me, I got jobs right away, right?
Sure.
I was working as a professional actor at the age of 16, but I had never been trained. I had never had a safe place really to fail because there's this weird you're already successful. So if you're failing now, that just means you're failing, right? I didn't understand it in the context of no, you don't have to take anything personally. This is not your identity. Just practice and you're not going to be great. You're not going to be great at everything, but you can be if you just look at it directly in the face and go, I'm not so good at that. How do I fix that?
Yeah. Yeah, I had the first play I ever wrote got picked up and performed and sold out shows and got nominated for awards, which I did not win. But I'm like, oh yeah, this is it. This is now it's just smooth sailing from here on in. And then crickets. Nothing. Nothing for years. Not one nibble, nobody cared. And I was like, oh, this is what a career is like.
This is what it's like.
Because a lot of times no one wants to have anything to do with you. And then suddenly you're the toast of the town again. Yeah.
And even if somebody does want to have something to do with you, I don't know if you've seen Steven Soderbergh's newest movies, No Sudden Move on HBO
No,
Max,
it's on my list. I haven't gotten to it yet.
Well, I wouldn't say it's his best work.
Sure.
I wouldn't. I don't. You'll be the judge of what you think. But he's Steven Soderbergh, so you go, yeah, right. You know what? It doesn't fall in the pocket all the time, even for the people that are quote unquote successful. So,
right.
I think that joy of the reason that I loved voiceover so much is because I was free from the need to succeed. Whoa. That's the title of my new self-help book.
Right.
No, but I didn't. It was so fun to figure out how to make a girl eating a Kit Kat interesting.
Wow. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nobody was looking at me. I just got to play with the rhythm of it, which is very much a writer's sensibility of, right? The rhythm of how jokes should go and the timing of, right?
Yeah.
So
Aaron Sorkin talks about how it's he writes music. So everything has to be da 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 da. He hears the song and he's writing his dialogue along it.
Oh my God. I can tell you because I'm editing my movie right now.
Oh, yes.
I can tell you that there were times when I was like, oh, I love it. It's so free. And they're just making it sound so real. And now I'm going back in and I'm like, I want you to cut the the all right, and the like. Cut it.
Yes.
You're you're adding words to the song.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
it's like when I don't want to be, a real stickler when it comes to if I write something to perform it, but there's a reason why I had you say, oh, that's a great idea, and not, that's a great idea. I chose that particular word specifically because the character has a reason for it. I put in those kind of pauses because I want that beat. I don't want you to just use any sound. There's a difference between and those are all very, very different things.
By the way, Kyle, kudos on that sound library you have going on. That was amazing.
Well, when you work in audio, as someone who has to edit a lot of audio, so if you're as a voiceover artist, you're treating it. I'm the one who's then going through and cutting it. Yeah. I have to do a lot of those kind of tweaks and changes, and also compressing the line. If someone decided to take a long pause, I was like, okay, I respect your choice, but nope, gotta go. Shoot, just cut the thing right out and put it right back together.
Oh, yeah, I hear you on that.
Yeah. So I guess what was your first non-commercial then? As I'm a narrative nerd, what was the first character that you did that wasn't selling something for a voiceover?
Oh.
Do you remember?
You mean
animation, a cartoon, or any kind of thing that wasn't specifically just a commercial thing? There is something on your resume that I'm very interested in talking to you about. I'm not trying to get to there, but I'm just curious if there was something before it that I don't know about.
There was I don't remember the name of it. I want to say Mr. Bill, or there was an anime. I didn't do a lot of animation because I was so doing well in the commercial world, to be honest.
Sure. That's where the money is. I'm not no shame at all. You're making a living, and that's fantastic. I'm just curious, just if when funny, you actually had a character that you were, in an episode of whatever. I can't remember what animated things were on at that time.
I did a kids show. I think it was called Mr. Bill or something. I can't remember now because I didn't do a lot of it. I did that. I did something called Van Helsing, which
that's the one. That's what I wanted to talk to you about.
Okay. Oh my God.
To set the scene. Okay, so Steven Sommers had did The Mummy and did extremely well with it, and then they're like, monster stuff. Do a monster movie. So he made Van Helsing. So Van Helsing was Hugh Jackman as the monster, and then pretty much all monsters that weren't the Mummy in the Universal Library. It was a big, huge summer action thing, special effect kind of stuff. And it has, I'm a fan, but like, I know some people are not, but it was a big summer movie. And then they made a video game based on that. And then let's see, it was Kate Beckinsale's character. Mm-hmm. And so when they did the video game, they didn't get Kate Beckinsale to do her voice. No. They got you.
Yes, they did.
So what is it like recording a video game?
Well, this has happened to me a couple of times because I had to do an accent for it.
Ah, yeah, that's right. A vaguely Romanian.
Yep.
Yeah.
Vaguely is the operative word there.
That's right.
I got cast to do a British thing one time, and I was like, I actually got the job, and I thought, oh dear God. And then I got into the session, and the woman who was running the session was British.
Like, I'm going to get a lot of notes.
Oh, I was like, no. I can sound British enough for an American person, but you know I can't do this accent. So it was a little bit the same with the Van Helsing thing. I was a little bit like, oh God. But remarkably, it was a really fun. They were so nice. We had such a ball, and I had to sort of try to do as much of a voice match as possible. I'm uncannily good sometimes at voice match. I love it. I don't know why, but again, if I'm told what to do, I can do it. I swear to God, I can mimic anybody. Like I really enjoyed I enjoyed that part of it. And the only thing that scared me was really the accent. Because I was like, are there even different sounds to like Prussian, Romanian, Russian? Like, I don't even know.
You don't want to turn into Bela Lugosi all of a sudden. And you're like, now you're drifting into Italian. Like, no.
Yeah, no, I'm positive I went full Dracula at it.
Well, if you start at full Dracula and they bring you down.
I think I actually talk about something about Transylvania or something in that, don't I? It's like, I don't remember, but like, it was really fun. I loved it. Like, it was such a huge job. I couldn't believe that I got it.
And it's a lot more intensive, from what I understand, too. Like, because not only do you have to do, I guess at the time, I don't know, this is early 2000s. Yeah. There was just the straight up dialogue of like, you need to make sure that you hit the cross to activate the, that kind of stuff. But did you have to also do the grunts? Like
I'm sure,
that must have been an interesting time.
As far as I remember, I don't remember doing a lot of I remember it being very heavy story, that I had to speak in character a lot. I don't remember being a sort of like, walk up this staircase take a right on your left, you know what I mean, at the large mirror where I cannot see my reflection. I don't remember having to do a lot of that.
Yeah.
But it was really, really so fun. I didn't see any famous people now. When I saw famous people I also did a character in Curious George.
Oh, very nice. That's going to be a good gig.
It was a good gig. What happened was that I didn't even know they did this, but Will Ferrell was coming in to record The Man in the Yellow Hat.
Oh, of course.
I had gotten, because of my comedy work, I had gotten selected to be all of the voices opposite him in the scenes.
Okay.
Just sort of so while he's doing his bit, I did all the other parts, but mostly the Drew Barrymore part.
Okay.
And
this is Curious George, the movie?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, the movie. And then at the end, because I had done a good job, they threw, obviously I couldn't be the girl because it was Drew Barrymore, but they threw me a bone, and I think I was a lady in the park that's like, hi, mister, something like that.
Hello, Mr. Man in the Yellow Hat.
Yeah, so they let me come back in and do a little lady in the park. I'm like, watch out for those balloons, something like that.
So was that recorded by yourself?
The lady in the park one, or the stuff with Will Ferrell?
The stuff with Will Ferrell.
No, I was in the room with
literally
Will Ferrell.
In the room, not even like side-by-side booths, but like in the room.
No, Will Ferrell and he came in and we worked together like all day. And it was...
Wow. What a fun day.
Oh my God. Once again, I don't even think I auditioned for it. They just picked me because I could do characters and stuff.
Well, you'd done Van Helsing at that point, so I think they knew
Van Helsing was a big turning point for me. I mean, that Transylvanian Russian that I was doing, I pretty much sealed the deal from then on out. Yeah. What a gift, right? I was having so much fun. I have so much fun because there was no pressure. Like even in that one, it wasn't even it was my job to just have fun with him so he could get his best performance, you know? I didn't have to give a good performance because none of it was going to get kept. So there was no pressure. It was just all playful and fun. And we were making jokes and like, I loved it. Although I will say something I thought, this is really interesting for really successful comedians.
Okay.
You should be careful what you think. Because I remember thinking at the time, I would never want to be that successful. Oops. No, I changed. I take it back, universe. I do. But no, because, you know, Will Ferrell would be like, you know, hey, you know, you got any cream for this coffee? And the room would fall out. And you're sitting there going, no.
He literally wants cream for the
just wanted half and half. Yeah, like everything he said, no matter how actually funny it was like, like, and I thought, well, I think that happens a lot.
Wow.
I think it happens a lot that people, they get nervous. They want to validate. They remember that person as being a funny person. Yeah.
So they are like keyed up for it.
Yeah. Like who's the guy who is actually going to critique Will Ferrell's comedy?
Right.
Who's the person who's going to go, I think that joke's redundant. And I'm sure he has them. But in that room.
I know you did Anchorman, but you know, I've been behind the boards for 6 months, so let me give you a note here.
Right? I mean, look, he's doing fine. I love Will Ferrell. But he's very funny. He's very naturally funny. Like he's there to play.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, he had similar backgrounds. He also came up from an ensemble sketch.
Yep.
You know, background.
It's delightful. This conversation is delightful.
I'm no Will Ferrell, but I try.
Don't underestimate yourself. You're pretty great. Well, I heard you did a play that did really well.
Oh, you heard about that? Oh man,
I did.
It's going around. Everybody's talking about it these days.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's kind of a big deal that you're talking to me. I mean, really.
I know. Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, also, never forget I'm the woman in the park from Curious George.
Oh, so that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you have in your pocket right now a Kate Beckinsale impression. I mean,
right?
Come on.
Look out.
Like, who else
out,
has
Kate.
that?
That's why voiceover was so good for me because, I mean, I think you can see as I'm sweaty and at a voiceover booth that, like, I have no Kate Beckinsale. But for those brief 2 hours in the booth, you know, I got to be her. It's pretty great.
So you said that you could mimic people. So would they bring you in to do like, I can't what it's called, interstitial? What the like when a celebrity can't come in to do the other ADR, yeah. Do they bring you to like do other people's ADR?
Yeah, additional dialogue recording is what ADR is, and I've done Deborah Messing.
Oh wow.
I've done, who else have I done? I've done like 3 or 4 of them. I can't remember.
Okay.
I've done, like, I can't remember. There's a movie, 21 Grams. I think I did something in that movie. I don't, but that's been fun. That was an LA thing. So after I did voiceover in New York for many years, I was the voice. I got a gig as the voice of the Rosie O'Donnell show.
Oh, wow. That's nice. That was a big show at the time.
Yeah, so I was her promo announcer. She had a guy announcing for her for 2 years. And she said, hey, what about a woman? And there were no women in promo. And so they held an audition. My agent represented the guy who already had the job. And she was like, hey, this is a nothing thing. It's not a real job, but it would be good for you to go meet these producers if you can make it. It was 5:00 on a Friday on Mother's Day weekend, and my mom was with me. And I was like, well, she says it's not really a job, but do you mind? Like, it would be good for me to meet these producers. And my mom's like, sure. So we go down to Times Square and go into this little booth, and I meet the producer and do my little thing. And then I find out that like I got the job. And then later, Rosie at a Christmas party told me, She told me it was between me and another girl. And then when they told her the name of the other girl, she was like, I did a movie with her. I don't like her. And she was like, go with the other one. So because I had never done a movie with Rosie O'Donnell, got to be her promo announcer for 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, those of you who don't, the problem is with talk shows is that they have a shelf life. So it's like there's nobody talks about clips, or it was pre-internet stuff too. But like, I can't stress to you, for those of you who don't know, how big that show was. Like, you think Ellen is a big deal? Like, Rosie was double what Ellen was. Everybody watched that show.
Yeah, and she was the first one to do it.
Yeah,
and she came out to her audience. They all knew that she had a wife and adopted kids, and she was beloved. Yeah, she was great. Yeah,
that's a good gig.
It was a great gig.
That's probably like what, an hour, a couple hours work every week?
Oh, no. That gig ruled my life, actually.
Oh, really? So I figured you just would come in and just record it for an hour and then you're out.
No, because the approval process was so brutal. I could be in that office 6 hours a day sometimes. Like,
wow.
They had me on call. I had to go after running the New York Marathon on a Sunday. I checked my phone and they're like, "Where the hell are you?" I'm like, "I was running the marathon." And I go and I'm still in my foil blanket.
With your number?
I had to go record a promo. I couldn't leave town.
Wow.
It was like I had to be there because we didn't have the technology of being able to do what we're doing, right? I had to be in the voiceover booth. Yeah. And we did so many promos, and especially for Sweeps Week, it was like, it wasn't all day every day, but when I was there, I could be there for up to 5 hours. And if they made changes, they had to be able to call me and get me back in the studio like within the hour. So
wow.
It really, they kind of owned me. And then the minute that that was over, I moved to LA.
Okay. So like when the show ended, or like your time there just was done?
No, when the show ended.
When the show ended. Okay. So you were with her right to the end.
To the finale, baby.
Okay.
Yeah. It was great.
Wow. Yeah. That's really cool. Like, so that would be like not announcing the show.
No, I wasn't a live announcer.
So you were at the show.
Next time on the Rosie O'Donnell Show.
Oh, okay. All right.
Coming up next.
Okay.
Vince Vaughn. Stuff like that.
Okay.
So the little commercials on radio and television.
Yeah.
That would tell you who's going to be on this week on
double
Rosie.
Paychecks. Because you get one for radio and one for television, right?
It set me up for a life of leisurely writing. No, I'm kidding. It was a very good.
Financially, it was a solid.
Promo work was incredibly lucrative. Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yep. It was a big gig, and like a series regular job on television, it's regular work.
Right.
Right. Like, I did plenty of other commercials and things, but you could do 5 commercials in 1 week and then not do one for 2 months or 3 months. You don't know when that's coming. The promo work was regular, so it was like you could actually live your life going, I could save money because I know there's more money coming. Like, it's like a pretty cool situation.
Were you able to not waitress while that was going on?
I had stopped waitressing the minute that I decided I wanted to be an actor full time.
Okay.
I decided I was going to live on a bagel and pizza. And so that was about $5 a day I could live off of. And then I had savings that I could pay rent with. And I was like, I'm going to go. I read The Artist's Way. Okay. And I was like, I'm taking a leap of faith. I'm doing this for 6 months and we'll see. But I'm an actress now and nothing else. And I'm going to be the thing I want to be. And I quit my waitressing job and said, this is what I'm doing now. And I will say, within like 2 months, I was doing that sketch show. I got that voiceover agent. They sent me out. I started booking like crazy. I was making money right away, more than I ever made waiting tables doing the thing I loved. It was super risky, and it paid off.
For me, when I was starting out to be, when I decided to do the same thing with writing, for me it was ramen noodles, peanut butter, and kids' meals. Because you could go to Taco Bell and get a kid's meal for like $2, and it was still a full-size taco and nachos, all that stuff. So like I basically found out what the most food you could get for the least money at all the fast food places, and that's what I would eat. So yeah, those were my starving days.
So did you, when you made that choice for yourself, did you write all day every day? Did you have the discipline to do that?
I did. However, nobody cared. So your thing worked out. Mine did not work out. So like I had to go back, and so I found out that I had the discipline to do that. However, no one wanted to read what I was writing. So I learned a lot, but at the same time, it did not work out like yours did. So I had to go back to a straight job and not do anything for a while. And it wasn't until much later on when I got into a creative environment where there was other people that I could collaborate with.
Right.
That's when it started to really grow. When I was just by myself, like frantically scribbling away and typing, nope. Crickets.
It's so hard. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the hard part.
Plays or scripts, like TV scripts?
Anything I could do. But yeah, I've not done a lot of screenplays and television plays, mostly because my impediment is not discipline. It's not button seat getting keyboard, which a lot of people it is. It's not ideas. It's I don't like writing things for the drawer.
Oh, so I love that.
I've been trying to get over this for years. So I've done one screenplay. The only reason I finished my first screenplay is because I was involved in a screenwriting group and they were doing readings. And I was like, oh, if I have a screenplay, they'll read my screenplay out. So I did it and I did that. And then since then, no one has ever asked me for a screenplay. So therefore I've never written one, which is a terrible way to build a career.
Yeah, but I really respect that. I feel the same way. It's why I did music. It's why, I think you're onto something there. And by the way, here's my philosophy. I just did a movie, right? If it's a success, maybe they'll look at the other scripts that are all sitting in the drawer, right?
Yes, exactly.
So
it's a really good thing to have build up a back catalog, which I'm really terrible at doing.
I love it though.
I was just having a conversation with one of my directors I had worked with, where we collaborated on a bunch of different things. I said, my best work has come because you'll come to me and say, I want to do a play about this. And I'll be like, great. Let me fire up my pen and I will get him something. And it works out. Like every time we've collaborated, something great has come out of it. But when I'm just sitting by myself, it's sort of like, I know if I finish something, it's just going to go sit. I mean, the drama stuff, but I print out, it's going to sit in my drawer. And I'm like, oh, that drives me crazy. Yeah.
You also need to be told what to do. Like me.
I do. The weird thing is like working in the theater, especially, there's this idea that the playwright shows up with the holy document. Oh, and it descends and like everyone, oh yes, we must honor the playwright's wishes, which feels great. But I am perfectly happy if someone says, we want to do a show about A, B, and C, can only have this many people and do that. What do? Give me 4 weeks. I love it. I love it. I love a challenge.
Yeah.
But the thing is, that's not the way stuff is built. Like they expect it to arrive sort of fully formed. Like, no, like tell me what you want. I'll make it happen for you. But
you know what? The fact that you have people that can collab, I'm with you. I would like a group of people that give me assignments. And that has always been the best. Like if anybody's trying to get started and needs help, like having other people go, I want you to write me a 2-person play about blah, blah, blah. It's great.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's my main advice for anybody out there trying to do anything like this, find a troupe. Like I've been like that's what's been great for me over the last like 10 years, moving out to a new environment, meeting all new creative people, is putting together people who also want to do stuff. Like actors want material. So find actors.
Yeah.
Like, if you're an actor, find writers. They want to do stuff like that. Start putting those things together. And that's the only way one man shows are very, very rare.
We have this really unique thing in our business that I think is why people want to be in it, to be honest. The thing is going to be successful is if you're having fun, right?
Yes.
Like when this whole thing I'm thinking about, like is talking about auditioning. I'm like, well, what happened when I started to have fun? I started to book work. I wasn't having fun.
Yeah.
I was scared. I didn't know what I was doing. I thought I was failing. And the minute I started having fun, it was like, boop, 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 boop. You're talking about, oh, that sounds fun. You're going to give me this idea.
Right.
Writing alone is not always fun. So it's this great thing where you find other people that make you laugh and have fun. And then you have a win-win because you're A, more likely to be successful. And B, you're having fun, even if you're not successful with it, and that is success.
This is why I love conversation. You never know where it's going to take you. Mandy and I had reached a stopping point in her story with Mandy moving from New York to LA, but then we stumbled onto this fun new topic and got to chat about creativity and collaboration and my own struggles with getting words on the page. I hope it was fun for you too. If you'd like to hear more of Mandy's voice, she's got her own podcast. It's called The Mand Cave, hosted in collaboration with her friend Mandy Kaplan. You'll find it wherever the finest podcasts are found. Thanks so much for listening. This has been the next chapter in the Curiosity Codex, but there are still many pages left to decipher. We're part of the True Story FM family of podcasts. Find out more about us at truestory.fm. Our theme music is Intrusion by Severed Personality, aka Kevin MacLeod. The voice of the Codex is Vicky Hall. Find her on the web at vickyhall.squarespace.com. And my name is Kyle Olson.
The Codex is closed. For now.